worry. Ask me for a date, I say yes. Hands me his business card with finesse. The card's a URL to a website. He says my number's on that page, see it tonight. Front-end developers like to put on shows, flash UI but performance never grows. Give their junk a touch, it explodes. The likelihood of pleasure no one knows. Erectile dysfunction is the true game. 2 pumps on the mouse, limp shame. Their sites load longer than they could ever last. I get home with the card clutched in hand. Get on my laptop and on the URL I land. A fancy loading spinner, all just a wait. Made with React, didn't realize my fate. 20 minutes later, it's still spinning. This guy's a front-end dev, got a feeling. The fans on my laptop, they go brrr. Finally the page loads, my heart is stirred. The browser crashes hard, lose it all. Guess he has a small penis after all. Front-end developers like to put on shows, flash UI but performance never grows. Give their junk a touch, it explodes. The likelihood of pleasure no one knows. Erectile dysfunction is the true game. 2 pumps on the mouse, limp shame. The sites load longer than they could ever last.
Front-end tards think they're code bards. Stupidity they guard, their brain just lard. Performance is too hard, penis thin as a card. All their tools a cope, React, Vite, Vue, no hope. Abstractions for the dope, good code, nope. Front-end tards think they're code bards. Stupidity they guard, their brain just lard. Performance is too hard, penis thin as a card. All their tools a cope, React, blank, Vue, no hope. Abstractions for the dope, good code, nope. Nope.
Yo, what's up, Nicor? Good to see you. I'm almost ready, folks.
You're stacking React like it's some kind of flex. Hooks and states got you caught in a mess. Python's your savior, oh honey please. Indent that code, still crashing with ease. Oh, you're lost in the hype, can't you see? Tech trash talk, yeah, it's coming from me. Agile dreams and your JR's a bore. I'm dancing past you, straight to the core. Sprinting through Agile, you think you're so slick. Scrum masters yelling, commit that quick. Jira tickets piling up to the sky. You're clicking through hell and I'm waving bye-bye. Oh, you're lost in the hype, can't you see? Tech trash talk, yeah, it's coming from me. Agile dreams and your GLR's a bore. I'm dancing past you, straight to the core. Your components re-render, React such a drag. Python so slow, it's a snake in a lag. Boards full of tasks, yeah, you're stuck in the grind. I'm popping off hits while you're losing your mind. Take your sprints, take your stacks, I don't care. Looping through bugs, you're just pulling your hair. I'm the queen of the beat, you're a code writing pawn. Watch me shine while your framework's yawn. Oh, you're lost in the hype, can't you see? Tech trash talk, yeah, it's
almost ready,
coming
folks.
from
I'm
me.
almost ready.
Add your dreams and your joys
Sorry,
above.
I'm behind on everything
I'm
today.
dancing past you straight to the core.
I just need like 30 seconds and listen to some more music.
Code so clean, can't find the flaw. Got big brains but small jaws. Type in lambda, think they grand, but ladies dodging them like spam. Math folders stack up high, compensate with that big pie. Curried functions, no wife's kiss. Masturbate with a Fortran gist. Functional bro, where the girls go. All you getting is zeros and nulls, yo. Graph theory can't lay you down. In life's compiler, you're a clown. Recursive loops ain't filling gaps. Data sets got no love. Maps, type systems, impeccable, sure. But in romance, your skills be poor. Immutable selves stuck in place. In the love game, lost the race. Stack overflow.
Think I'm ready.
On your own, no companion, you code alone. Big O notation, small
I like this song. Functional programmers can go suck a potato. All right?
Love life's a dead loop every night.
Yeah, functional programmers' love life is a dead loop every night. Let's go. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna turn on the music. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? Welcome in, everyone. Thank you for everyone who's watching now or in the future. Day, whatever day you're having, good or bad day. I hope you're having a good day, whatever part of the day you're in. Morning, evening, night. I know you guys watch on different kinds of time zones, so I appreciate it wherever you're watching on, whichever platform. Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, Rumble, the whole 9 yards. I really appreciate X too. I see you all on X. Thanks everybody for being here. I've got such a backlog of, man, I honestly could not pick where to start from. I'm way behind today, first of all, so I'm sorry for starting the stream late. I'm going to do a little bit of a longer stream than I normally do because I'd like to touch on the video game a little bit that I'm building, because there has been movement on that behind the scenes. It is difficult to find the time to juggle everything, so I really do apologize. I am going to do a stream in the near future where I go over, where I spend time on the video game, like a proper just chill video game stream. I'm going to do that. But I have such a backlog of news. And the primary one is that I found another cult. I found another one. They're everywhere. And it's AI. And I am almost certain, I'm getting to the point, boys, gentlemen, I may have found a cult bigger than React. Maybe. It's really difficult to say, but I'm pretty sure that the evidence is leaning towards this cult is bigger than React. Now, the reason why I say that it's a cult, anytime I say it's a cult, because cults operate under specific paradigms. Here's how they operate. The most fundamental principle that cults operate under is emotions. That's number one. Bar none, that is the primary thing they need you to do. They need you to feel stuff. Why do they need you to feel stuff? Because if you feel things, it often overrides your logic. So, for example, you know this to be true because if you're in a situation where you're afraid of something, your emotional fear might override your ability to logically think through a particular situation because your fear overtakes you. Now, This mostly works on children, immature children. And unfortunately, many people don't grow up to be mature. We have a lot of immature children in our society, but that's not to say that everybody who gets suckered into a cult is an immature child. I know plenty of vastly intelligent people who are duped into all kinds of cults. And I'm repeating something that everybody's heard me say a million times. I have probably beaten this horse to death many times. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and it taught me a lot about the kinds of people that get involved in cults and how they operate. And the fact is, there are plenty of smart people who just have certain emotional aspects to them that they can't implement a logical or intelligent reasoning behind. And that's completely normal. There's nothing bad about that. Ultimately, if you think about it, we all need to feel something. Otherwise, we'd all just be robots. But the problem is that it's very easy for people to take advantage of you. Now, I'm going to give like the benefit of the doubt to AI cultists, because I'm willing to call AI hypists cultists. I am now willing to call AI a cult. Thus the title right here, AI is a cult, because it is, just like React is, and just like Rust is. I've come to that conclusion in the last week. I've done a deep dive into some of the people that are involved in Rust. It is also a cult. And all of these cults operate on exactly the same thing, just like I just finished saying, it's emotions. Now, this isn't exactly news, but I thought I'd bring it up, and then we're going to get into some news items here. I'll go over something that I was doing, I guess 1 or 2 days ago on X. All right, so here we go. I'm going to make the comparison of exactly how a cult works. You are about to get a masterclass. Well, maybe not a masterclass, because these guys are pretty freaking stupid, right? So this might not be masterclass cult level implementations, but it's good enough for you to get a sense of how a cult works. If you would like to know how a cult works, you're about to find out at least a little bit of the insight into the brain mechanisms behind cult members. Here we go. Okay. Here's how cults work, all right? What they do is they first of all have to instill fear in you. The reason why fear works as the primary emotional tool is because fear is one of the most overriding emotional, let me put it a different way, slightly different. It is one of the biggest emotions that overrides any and all logic. There are very few emotions that actually successfully override your logic other than fear. Fear is one of the biggest ones. If you're afraid of something, it's easy to manipulate you into not thinking about something I'm telling you to do, or something I'm telling you to believe in, or whatever the case might be. This is how a lot of religions operate. They instill fear in you. So like the fear of hell, or the fear of not having God's approval, or the fear of the future. This is how governments operate. So if a government can make you feel fear about the future, then they can make you vote for them because they can give you a solution to that, right? This is how it works. Now, I will say that I'm not completely off or against religion. There are a lot of benefits to religion. I just want to be really clear that I'm very specifically making a very specific set of statements. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you're a religious person, I think you're stupid. Quite the contrary. I have been in religion for most of my life, and I can understand some of the logic behind it, and some of the good reasons why you might believe in it, and also some of the benefits. You can't deny some of the benefits. Okay, so this is not I'm just trying to be as clear as I can possibly be, and I will still make mistakes about how I explain this. I just ask that you grant me some leeway in my explanation here. And I think this is really important because AI is not the only place where cult-like thinking takes place. And I'm just trying to do my best to demonstrate kind of like the thought pattern on how these cults operate. And again, just to be clear, not everything is a cult. There is a cult spectrum, whether it's political, societal, or religious. You may not be a full-on cult, but you might implement cult-like mechanisms, and then there might be other things which are not cult-like at all. Okay, so I'm just trying to like lay it out here. All right, but here we go. We're just gonna move right into this, and I hope that you can forgive me for not fully constructing the views as best as I possibly can. I would take probably a long time for me to do that. Hey, Garrett Games on Twitch, good to see you, man. It doesn't help that there are many people on X that are engagement baiters, faith and reason, no emotions and feelings. Yeah. So this is exactly what I mean. And Gare, I think a lot of my viewers are already aware of what these things, how these things operate. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but really what I'm trying to do is, if anybody new ends up watching this stream in the next however long it takes for somebody new to watch the stream, excuse me, I hope that they're about to have their eyes opened a little bit to how these things operate. Battle, good to see you on Twitch. Listen, guys, if you're on any of the other platforms, YouTube, X, whatever, just hit me up, send a message, interrupt me, whatever it is. It's a little bit of a longer stream today because I'm running late on everything, and I want to do right by you guys because I promised you guys a daily tech news stream. We'll get to the news. This is the first thing I want to tackle. Battle on Twitch says, Evening Spiro, believe it or not, AI doesn't do acceptable geometry. I have to learn Maya now. Modo is going away. We still need to model things with old school polygonal tool operations like men. Studying tonight, but we'll be lurking. Thanks, Battle. Yeah, okay, so we're going to get into that because Battle brings up a good point. I won't give it away quite yet, but if you are picking up what Battle's putting down on the Twitch side, you already know. So a lot of my viewers are already going to know this. But so we have this X post from this guy named DJ Cows, and the very first thing he does is the appeal to fear. It is exactly the first crap. What's the what's the acronym for the Operation Apparatus Mundi, like the OM, something like that. Anyway, it's the operational method. Let's go with that for now. Okay. Somebody in chat will correct me because my brain is a bit modus operandi. Thank you, Ghost. Okay. Ghost is an idiot. I don't like Ghost. Okay. Ghost sucks. Okay. He's a loser, but every once in a while he redeems himself. So I'll give him some I'm just joking, Ghost. I love you, man. You're awesome. Thanks for being here, Ghost. Good to see you. I hope Ghost knows I'm joking. I know Ghost can dish it as much as he can take it. Okay, so it's okay. Ghost is a cool guy. I like him. I just want to be really clear. I don't want to give the wrong impression that I don't like Ghost. I really do. He's awesome. Okay, yes. Modus operandi. Fucking hell. Thanks, Ghost. I appreciate it. So this is how it works, okay? So the first thing they got to do is they got to instill fear in you, and you can see it right here. Anti-AI people will be left so far behind that I'm honestly scared for them. Now, I think you would be hard-pressed. I think I would be hard-pressed to find any AI hypist out there today who would not generally agree with that sentiment. People who lean on the, let's say, over 50% of AI is going to do incredible things in the future in terms of that spectrum, right? If you were to kind of like put a number on their belief percentage of whether AI will or will not greatly disrupt the future, if they believe that over 50% in terms of belief numbers, like we could push a magic button and get a number out of it, I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who did not agree with the statement. However, this statement is fear-based. That's how it starts. So they have to instill fear in you first, because that is the almost always, there are very few other emotions that they can play on. For example, love would be one of them. Jehovah's Witnesses do this all the time. They really love it when they run into someone doing their door-to-door ministry. When they knock on the door, they used to anyways. They don't do that much anymore. But when I was younger, I had to go out on weekends and do that. I would knock on your door. Yeah, that's right, you. And I would try and convince you that my religion was correct. And we loved it when we found someone who just recently lost a loved one, because that's less of a fear emotion. That's much more of a love emotion. Those kinds of things, those kinds of emotions override logic. Another emotion that is very powerful is comfort. When you can give someone a comfortable emotion, when they can feel comforted, it's not exactly the same as love. It's not exactly the same as fear, although it is related and overlaps. You can absolutely make someone override their emotions, because if you can show the contrast between comfort and non-comfort, right? It's not comfortable to think about the idea that if you're a full-on atheist, you might never see a person you loved ever again. They just vaporized into the ethos, into the ecosystem. That's it. You live once, you die, it's over. That's a very uncomfortable position for someone to have to tackle with, right? If you can make them feel comfortable by saying, but wait, I have a solution for you. You can see your loved ones again. Just divorce yourself from whether that's true or not. It doesn't matter the religious belief. I'm just stating something as like, this is an emotional tactic that can be used to make you think something that isn't logically true. So this is how it starts. And I won't get into this thread right away, but I responded with, AI people will be left so far behind that I'm honestly scared for them. See, I can make baseless assertions without proof too, because this is exactly how cults work. They do not actually present proof. They present only as much information as needed in order to make you feel something. Once they get you to feel something, proof is far less important. So you can kind of see how these people think, right? So we're just going to skip my thread and we're going to keep going down the thread of some other people. And this is exactly the kind of stuff that I saw when I was a Jehovah's Witness. My dad was against social media when it came out. Years later, most of his grievances turned out to be true, but he's behind because he doesn't know how to use it. He's obsessed with learning about AI. He said he does not want to make the same mistake again. Wow, that's so good for him, and love to hear that. He's going to win this time. Now, you might be wondering, how is this cult-like mentality? This is something else cults like to do. They'd like to lean in on confirmation bias. So what they'll do, and we're about to get into this soon, is they will completely scapegoat or completely ignore any negative aspect of anything they've ever said, ever. Sometimes people focus on the stuff that didn't work out for them, or regrets that they have, or failures that they've made. And so what a cult will do is it will lean into that. It'll say, yeah, but what did you get right? And you know, those things that you got right align with the things that we ask from you. All this time, if you had just joined our cult, all those things you got right would have matched with all the things that we got right, or that we would have asked you to do, or that we would have asked you to felt. Look at the alignment. And essentially what they're saying, without actually saying it, is ignore all the stuff that went wrong. Just ignore all of that. Now, here's a perfect example, because even though you can say, yeah, sure, he was against social media, the only thing you're focusing on is the positive aspects of social media, of which there is at least one, right? There's at least one thing positive that anybody could name on the face of the planet who's ever used social media. I'm sure you could come up with one positive thing about social media. Can you come up with one negative thing about social media? Just one? And there's an implied smuggling of consensus or ad populum, which is a logical fallacy here, which is, well, I was against social media because I saw the negative effects, but now those negative effects are still there. The difference is that most people have just come to accept those negative effects. So I was wrong. I'm sorry. Where's the logical reasoning there? Like, you've made a whole bunch of assertions and assumptions, and you've actually even negated your own stance without even realizing it. But as psychological, emotional beings, that's not what we want to hear. We don't want to hear where we went wrong. We want to hear where we went right. And so the dad here feels like, you know, if we are to trust Jenny, or whoever this Jenny person is, the dad here feels like they missed the boat on something or got something wrong, but they actually didn't, because I'm betting you anything, the things that dad was against in terms of social media are actually real problems today. I bet you he got those right. I bet you he got those problems right. It's just that he didn't follow what everybody else around him is doing. And so out of peer pressure and societal, aspects, he feels like he's wrong. He feels like he's wrong, right? Feels. I've really started to think this way. The courts move too slowly. By the time anyone gets through litigation to try and protect their jobs, it's going to be too late. You can't stop people from doing matrix multiplication. But I think Battle just proved that it's not exactly that cut and clear with AI. I find it more comfortable to embrace the next thing than fight against it. Feels more natural, but I can see why some would want to fight against it. Can anybody see any issue with this at all? Like, is there any issue at all with this kind of thinking? Even just a little bit. I can tell you one. Because the next thing, there's a logical entailment here that this person is claiming, that DJ Cows is claiming, that doesn't actually exist. Here's the logical entailment that DJ Cows is making here. Well, because it's the future, embrace it. Because it's right. Because it's the future. It's a cyclical argument that cults like to do all the time. This will happen. So why are you fighting against it? Just accept it. But nobody stops to think, is this right? Is the future correct? And nobody, and I mean nobody, maybe very few people, I shouldn't make global statements like that, but generally very few people look at a statement like this and go, well, it might be the future according to current trends, but maybe it's not the right future. So maybe we can do something about it now. This is actually a statement that seems positive, but is defeatist at its heart. It's defeatist because what it says is ignore all the negative aspects of what the future of AI might hold. Just don't try and make it better. Just let it go. Just let it be. And whatever it is, it is. It's an extremely defeatist argument, which essentially takes power away from you. But you see, a cult would never tell you that, because the power is in how you feel. And if you feel like the future is inevitable and you just accept it, you're going to be far more comfortable with where it goes. So your emotions are going to be just fine, right? Let's keep going. People should have a basic understanding of how AI models work and how to use these models to improve productivity. You don't need to learn the ins and outs of AI, but just become a more educated user. Yeah, pretty much. Many are still in denial, even about the productivity gains, but they'll learn, I guess. Now, I'll be fair, because I think there's an objective statement to make here. For some reason, my notification count on X is going up. I don't know why. Let me just here take a swig of my Textradamus juice. Okay, now I'll be fair to this particular portion of the thread. This particular portion of the thread is fine. I actually don't see an issue with this. It is completely okay for you to have a more educated overview of what AI does and how it operates. I completely agree with this. You should. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. AI definitely has use cases. You just saw the number go down because I just did a quick check while I was taking a drink here, because I just wanted to see if there was. Thank you, Gare Games, for reposting that. I really appreciate that. You can absolutely make a claim that AI has its uses. I completely agree with that. There are definitely areas of AI which are completely 100% acceptable. AI will blow the socks off any human endeavor in these niche areas. Okay, I would say this about any. Well, let me be fair. I would say this about any cult-like operation at all, or even non-cult like religious aspects or political or societal. They all have scenarios where they're absolutely 100% useful and should be used to their maximum. I totally agree. But let's keep going, because I don't think that this is the what would you say, the primary operational method of thinking about AI. So let's go down one. My standardized reply under every AI just regurgitate stuff post. I feel sorry for you, but I wish you well. Haha, same. This is exactly how cults operate as well. What cults like to do is they like to encourage their members to not argue with people who have opposing opinions. Why? As a Jehovah's Witness, I was always told that if you argue with someone who has an opposing view, like for example, if you knock on someone's door and you say, hello, I have come here with good news today. The good news is that Jesus in the Bible tells us that there's going to be a reckoning of all evildoers in the near future, but you can be saved. And I have these brochures or publications or magazines which tell you how you can be saved, right? That's essentially the message. And then someone retorts with like, well, can you prove it to me? What about this scripture? What about this belief? What about your history? There's all kinds of ways to debunk Jehovah's Witness belief systems. But what you're taught as a Jehovah's Witness is you do not need to argue with these people. Why do you not need to argue with them? Because they're othered. That's why. Because you can other them. Do you know what the term other means? OTHER. It means that they do not belong in the same system that you do. They are outside of the belief system that you are in. You are a special folk, and you can expect that people will criticize and attack you for your beliefs. And as such, because they cannot see things as special as you can see them, you don't have to listen to them. That's how it works. You don't have to engage with them. You don't have to listen to them. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to debate with them. You don't have to lay out your beliefs with them. You don't have to compare your stances with them. You don't have to do anything. You can outright ignore these people because they have nothing of substance to offer you, because they don't believe the same thing you do. Let's keep going. They aren't left behind if they refuse to ride the ride in the first place. The roller coaster is only for the brave. This is another cult-like tactic, which is to make you feel special, to make you feel like you have a belief that nobody else has the courage or the balls to have. So what we're taught, for example, as Jehovah's Witnesses, is when you walk into a grocery store, when you walk down the street, when you go and talk to non-believing family members, maybe at a family dinner, when you're at a restaurant, when you're walking around the mall, you look at every single person who is not a Jehovah's Witness and you feel sad for them because they don't have what it takes to believe what you believe. And as a result of that, they have no chance in God's coming new system, when he removes people from the planet who don't believe in him, essentially just mass global murder, when God does this mass global murder, you're going to be the one left standing. You should feel sorry for them. You should feel sorry for the people you look at in your day-to-day life, who you go to work with, who you go to school with. They are all currently marked for death, and God will kill them, but not you, because you had the fortitude to walk a tough road. Your belief system is tough. It's not easy to believe what you believe. It's easy to believe what everybody else around you believes. Feel sad for them. They're going to get left behind. And you're going to be the one who, after Armageddon, which is God's day of cleansing the earth, there's going to be a lot of cleaning up to do, a lot of dead bodies to clean up, a lot of destruction and mayhem, because the earth has to be turned into a beautiful paradise, a cornucopia, a utopia of peace and love and tranquility. And you will be part of cleaning it up. And you have to feel sorry for all these people who are going to get left behind. This is cult 101. It's plain to see, but people don't see it. It's important to learn and be aware of it, but at some point it's not going to need us. I'm hopeful AI will leave us alone when it doesn't need us. Honestly, this is such a batshit crazy thinking. I have no fucking idea where these guys get this kind of thinking from. That's fucking retarded level thinking. I don't even know. I'm just going to move on. Anti-people who are anti-AI. Low-key same. I find them terrifyingly arrogant. Is there any societal aspect to society these days where the word anti is being used to be like anti-anti? Can you think of any at all? Just at all? I won't get into it because I'm not really a political or societal streamer, but this kind of shit has no place in tech. This kind of thinking has no place in tech. It is low level, low tier, retard level thinking. What's up, Vamp? Greek Prattle? Shut up, Vamp. Good to see you, though. Hey, so Battle on Twitch says, novelty in itself is not a virtue. Novelty in itself is not a virtue. Right. It's a constant refrain in politics as well. An idea is better just because it's new. Never tear down a fence until you understand why it was installed in the first place. Yep, that's right, Battle. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that the fence doesn't need to be torn down. That's not the statement, right? The statement is, at least understand why it was there in the first place before you tear it down. Because then you have a far more educated opinion about whether it should be torn down or not. Johnny, good to see you, Johnny. I hope you're doing well. Battle, I hope you're doing well. I don't think I said that. Pure, good to see you too. I didn't skip you. I hope you're doing well, Pure, on the Twitch side. They are of the world in Christianese. Yes, they are of the world. That's right, Johnny. You nailed it. Yeah. So if you're othered in a cult, you are of the world. And that's literally what Jehovah's Witnesses say. If you're not a Jehovah's Witness, then you're part of the world. And the world constitutes all the people who do not believe in God, and so therefore they automatically fall under Satan's wicked system of things. That's exactly what these AI cultists are doing here. They're othering people. They think it's personhood, says Vamp on YouTube. Yeah, they're greatly internalizing this kind of like thinking, the tech and the thinking behind it, and they're internalizing it to kind of like represent themselves, essentially, to represent who they are. But it has nothing to do with who you are. It's technology. There might be like a little bit of an overlap. Sometimes technology can be representative of who you are, depending on how you want to like frame that. But technology in and of itself and the execution thereof has nothing to do with who you are. It doesn't. It only in very extreme particular circumstances does it have anything to do with who you are. It's definitely not to this degree. So Vamp is right. What's up, King, on Twitch? Earth is flat. Listen, bro. Earth is flat, Australia ain't real, and birds are just spy machines. Okay, just shut up, King. Okay, let me keep going so I can get through this. We'll get to the news in a second. I think this is very true for companies as well. They're cooked. That might be true. I'm not entirely sure. There are definitely some companies that are cooked, mostly because AI has certain technological niches that it tackles very well. Companies in those technological niches will suffer from AI outperforming them. I can 100% believe that. However, to extrapolate from that AI is going to take over and people who don't, let's say, believe in AI are going to be left behind, that's a huge logical jump. It's an assertion without proof. I keep texting my boyfriend, are you ready for what's coming? Then they look at us like this as if we're crazy. Because you motherfuckers are crazy. You low tier retarded motherfuckers are crazy. Okay? They'll be fine as long as they have submariners. Exactly right. What the fuck are you guys talking? I don't even know. It's just scared people denying the reality. AI, why do they hate me? Nobody hates AI, bro. We hate people who oversell AI. And I don't know what reality you're talking about. What is the fucking reality that I'm supposed to accept here? Because in fucking reality, AI has done barely next to nothing. We all like to focus on all the positive stuff about AI positivity and whatever the fuck ever. But if you go back on my Enlightened Programming streams, which by the way, I have been chopping up, I've now put it into a playlist on my YouTube account. So you can go to my YouTube, you can go to that playlist. I hope it's up there for everybody. I'm pretty sure I set it to public. If not, it doesn't matter. The titles are all on there. And I'm starting to build up the entire backlog of Enlightened Programming streams where I prove scientifically and academically and programmatically that AI is not cut out to be what you low tier retards think it is. It's not. So I don't know what reality you're living in, but it's not reality. It's a reality of your own making, okay? They're toast, sure. Yeah, whatever. AI is barely a skill. They'll be fine. Yeah, but many are rejecting it. As it gets more advanced, they need to adapt to the changes. Many seem to have a hard time even accepting the idea of basic LLMs. Yes, because basic LLMs fuck up all the fucking time. I've proven this time and time again. And we could keep going like this over and over and over. And just a brief look of my response and the responses to my response. Been coding 20 plus years. These tools give you so much edge, they should be illegal. I can solo entire systems that used to take months and a team of dudes in a night easily with these tools now. If you're arguing that the tools are assistive, I'll concede that they can be. If you're arguing that the tools can be primary drivers of code bases, I look forward to making mad bank with all the issues that AI will generate. Then this guy goes on to say, they only exist because people don't know how to use them. You got to learn how to use AI in order to make money. And so I said, perfect. So you have a company right now that makes millions of dollars a year, right? You can prove it, and you can prove that it's entirely run by AI. And then he's like, just look at my profile. I've been in the financial markets making advanced systems for decades. This shit might be new to you, but it isn't to NVIDIA. So the answer is no. Right? The answer is no. You can't prove that you're running a company solo, making millions of dollars all by yourself. You can't prove that. And then his rebuttal is, I don't have whatever, I don't have enough money or something, or like, and he even got my age wrong. He thought I was in my 20s, which, you know, I appreciate that, Chaos Capitalist. Okay, Quantaflow, I really do appreciate that. That's very nice of you to say I'm in my 20s. I'm at the ripe old age of 41. I wish I was in my 20s, but you know, you just might be my new best friend simply because of that alone. Okay, I might just give you a pass. But also fuck you because you're a fucking illogical piece of shit motherfucker. Anyways, and then so I had a lot of people reply all kinds of stupid shit. Some of them having reasonable takes, but then it just devolved into pure cultist ideology. It's pure cultist ideology. So like hindsight logical fallacy. This guy did this like a lot. Hindsight logical fallacy, which is because it can make a claim about the past that proved true, therefore the future that I predict will also prove true. That's hindsight logical fallacy. He continued to make this over and over again. Listen, guys, you need to be aware of the absolute mockery of your brain power that is happening out there in all kinds of ways in tech. Abstractions like React, Vue, Svelte, Solid, Next.js, AWS, microservices, GraphQL, Rust for safety to make you feel warm and comfortable, TypeScript, NPM packages, PHP Composer, Laravel, Tailwind. I could sit here and name a whole shitload of things. The entire premise of what they're trying to do is make you feel comfy as a programmer. They want to make you feel stupid, and AI is no exception. They just don't tell you that they want to make you feel stupid. That's the key difference. They just don't say you should feel stupid. They say everything else around that to make you feel stupid. They just don't say you should feel stupid. You guys have to be really, really careful about this shit because it's extremely prevalent and it works. It's been working for thousands of years. Thousands of years. These cult-like operations work time and time and time again. And we are in an unfortunate, precarious position in the tech industry where we have fucked ourselves over royally, and we have third-party actors, whether they're entire nation states or groups of just general people who don't give a shit about our way of life in the West and would be, in some cases, really happy to see us fucking burn with our families around us. And they're perfectly happy to capitalize on our willingness for complacency and lack of care or concern about the shit we're producing. You really need to be careful about this shit. Yes, King, I am 41. I'm not lying. If you want proof, Natecore in chat, Natecore Blue on the Twitch side has known me since I was quite young. We've known each other since we were quite young. He can prove it for you, right? AI, more like search engine. Yeah. Vampire on YouTube. He's completely right. I'm just gonna repeat what he put in. They're just enjoying big tech slop because it has the semblance of usefulness, but it's just manipulation. I don't only agree with Vampire's take on YouTube. I'm gonna extend it one step further, which is these people who you see on screen are actually extremely desperate. They're self-identifying as extremely desperate for AI. They need AI way more than most of my viewers do because most of my viewers are not childlike, retarded level infants who need comforting with comfy little blankets to keep them safe at night in the programming world. These motherfuckers couldn't code their way out of a paper bag. So they are desperate for AI to knock off actual GigaChad programmers like myself. Because then what they can do is they can say, fuck you, actual programmers. We don't need you anymore. We can do all the shit you used to do all by ourselves. They have no idea what the fuck they're getting themselves into, but they really, really fucking hope AI will get them out of the situation they're in. That's the reality. LLMs are unreliable, so I can never take what they say at face value, only as starting ideas. Same here. I am perfectly happy to use AI, exactly what Vamp is saying on YouTube. I'm perfectly happy to use it as a starting point. Sometimes it can come up with like a summarized, distilled version of a bunch of ideas that I feed into it. I absolutely see use cases for AI that are good. I do. BS detector goes through the roof. Yeah. Exactly. I won't let AI touch my code, but ChatGPT basically replaces Stack Overflow for me. Yeah, King has the right idea. You can look up information because, I mean, we all know based on my daily tech news over the last week or 2 weeks and a half that AI does not give a shit about privacy concerns, or when you tell AI not to scrape data on your website, it completely ignores all those things. Open source communities have been hit hard by high prices on having to pay for like hosting fees because AI systems are just kind of like expanding so big and hitting their servers so much that they can't keep up with the bandwidth costs. Like, we know this to be true. That's a positive and a negative. If you keep AI in its proper place, then King has the right idea, King on Twitch, which is, well, you don't have to go searching through the Google search engine, for example, to search for answers for programmatic problems. By the way, the Google search engine fucking sucks big ass right now. I would much rather like use Grok or, like ChatGPT for searching an answer to a question I have. Because it has all this information and it can distill it in ways that I can like read and parse through, right? That's absolutely true. But like there are very few actual good use cases for AI beyond that. They don't understand the Kool-Aid reference and you're othering them by making it. You could put my comment up on screen for a live journal. Yeah, shut up, man. AI seems like so battle on Twitch's AI seems like a justification for sloth for the cult, like a security blanket. Yes, I've said this before. I think Battle agrees too. He's probably said this before many times. I don't even know it, but yeah, it's a security blanket for emotional infantile people who desperately need AI to get them out of the situation they're in, whatever that situation might be. Knowing linear algebra, program design, or physics is only going to amplify its usefulness. They extol the virtues of AI over self-improvement at their own peril. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They lean way too much into the things that AI does well, and then they extrapolate from that. Like I said, it's a logical. It doesn't follow, right? They're stating that there's a logical entailment, but it's an assertion without proof. Well, AI does really well at this. Jehovah's Witnesses do this too. Well, we got this thing right, and we got this other thing right, we got a bunch of other stuff right, which they did historically. Therefore, we're right about a bunch of other stuff, right? Sure, Vamp. Yeah, you can forward it to me. And I'll check it out. I'll put it in my on my next stream or something. I'll have a look at it. I feel like this goes both ways. Hey, by the way, Zero X Machine, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I feel like this goes both ways. Anti-AI people will be left behind from business opportunities and massive profits. AI people will be left behind mentally by relying too much on it. It's a battle between skill and opportunity, which only time will tell which will be more important in the future. I think you nailed it, Zero X. I think this is the thing that these kinds of discussions miss. And I'm trying to bring attention to. There are positives and negatives. And if you keep these things in their proper place, you can maximize on the positive aspects and reduce or eliminate the negative. Making global sweeping statements like AI will never amount to anything, or AI will completely replace everything under the sun, and everybody in the planet is going to fall under universal basic income. Those are two very extreme positions, I should say, with no proof. They're just assertions. But if you have a reasonable take on it, which is that AI has positive use cases, if you know how to maximize it, you're going to do fine, and maybe even make a lot of money using it, I can agree with that. I don't think that's crazy. C programmers were left behind in the 90s when Java came, right? That's right, Ghost. Yeah. And Vamp on YouTube says Zoomers are obnoxious enough. They don't need AI making them think they're actually smart. I guess apparently they do, because they're so... I mean, let's be real. They have such lack of confidence in themselves and their own capabilities. And they know that actual programmers who know their shit won't support the bullshit that they peddle. They need AI to replace people like us. That's the truth. They need it. because they understand that they could never compete with us at the level that we compete in. They can't do the things that we do. They're dependent on us, and they hate it. They absolutely fucking hate it. So they got to use cult-like operations to get you to buy into the bullshit that they peddle so that they can do whatever they need to do without us. That's the ultimate end game. Okay, should we get into some actual news? How about that? How about I actually do my frickin' job, okay? My actual frickin' job. Let me switch over to this guy. Now, Automattic is essentially the company that runs WordPress. And if you've been living under a rock in the tech space for the last, I don't know, few months, essentially since the end of last year, you might not know that Matt Mullenweg, a complete and utter retard who has been running WordPress, completely fucked over his entire community because he's stupid as they come. And he's made a bunch of horrible decisions about WordPress. And now, whether it's a result of the mass layoffs in the tech industry, AI, or just his own stupidity, doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, people are having to lose their jobs. And so he announced today that he has to do a very hard restructuring where they essentially have to lose, I can't remember what it is, but it's more than... Crap, what was the percentage? 16%? Maybe 60%? I can't remember the exact percentage. As someone who reports the news, I should know this, right? But essentially, several hundred, if not a few thousand, employees in Automattic have to be let go. And I thought it was really, really interesting. Why? We have reached an important crossroads. Can't even fucking spell. While our revenue continues to grow, Automattic operates in a highly competitive market. And technology is evolving at unprecedented levels. To support our customers and products, we must improve our productivity, profitability, and capacity to invest. So because they're making a shitload of money, okay, because their technology is moving so fast, right? They have to do more of it. And how do they do more of it? Here it is. Here's the percentage. We have to reduce our workforce. Can you think of any reason why Matt's a fucking idiot here? Why none of this article makes any fucking sense at all? Can anybody think of anything? So either Matt is bold-faced lying, which executives normally do for their investors and shareholders and other stakeholders in the company, or he's just a fucking dumbass. Take your pick, because only one of the two is true. Right? Only one of the two is true. On the one hand, you're saying, oh man, bros, the growth, the profitability, technology is getting so good. And then on the other hand, you're like, yeah, but we have to let 16% of you go. It's the Ubisoft movement. Bro, Assassin's Creed Shadows did so well. Our sales are through the fucking roof. Okay, so tell me why you had to sell 20% of your company to Tencent. Guys are fucking stupid. Just stupid everywhere. Okay, what next? I will say that I feel bad for the people who work at Automattic because it sucks to lose your job. It really does. And I don't like seeing it. I don't like people losing their jobs. Yeah, but I just thought this particular thing is just dumb on so many levels. It's so stupid. GitHub. We're back to security issues because security don't die. And your stupid ass code that you use, that particular framework or abstraction to make you feel good about the code you wrote, yeah, it's still causing problems. And GitHub ain't no exception, okay? GitHub expands security tools after 39 million secrets leaked in 2024. I want you to think about the implication of 39 million secrets being exposed in open source projects, which all kinds of companies all over the world, governments, military, private, public, it doesn't matter if you're NPM installing or Composer installing or Rust creating, it does not matter. Your third-party services that you install to make you feel all nice and comfy about the shit you're building, whether it's good shit or bad shit, has a high chance of being exposed and hackable, if not already hacked, which I have a few news articles lined up, which hopefully I'll have time to get to in the stream to go over. GitHub announced updates to its advanced security platform after it detected 39 million leaked secrets in repositories during 2024, including API keys and credentials, exposing users and organizations to serious security risks. So they talk about all the different kinds of things that they found and some of the updates that they're committing to doing as a result of it. So blah, 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 all the stuff that GitHub wants to do, that's great. Now, this is actually the problem. The problem is not only people who do like an npm install or some equivalent. Hey, MyTech on YouTube, good to see you. I'm kind of just focused on the news thing here, so I'm sorry if I'm ignoring chat because I see chat going off. But MyTech, I noticed you. Good to see you, MyTech. So the problem is not only third-party packages, open source, whatever it is, you npm install, whatever the heck ever. It's also the fact that we have automation tools like CI and CD. Continuous integration or continuous development or continuous deployment pipelines. These things also depend on third-party services. So you have imagine a core system, a website that needs to be deployed. The website itself is dependent on a bunch of third-party repositories or libraries or whatever you want to call them. Then it has to be deployed. And so you use another system to package that up and deploy it to a bunch of different servers. Well, that's like another system, right? That's not the website. That's the thing to get the website to be deployed. That thing sometimes runs on GitHub, and that thing sometimes relies on third-party systems itself. So you have this like webbed chain of multi-tiered relationship dependency trees going all the way from developer's machine to the production server's machine. And GitHub is one step along that process. And unfortunately, GitHub also falls prey to the stupid, shitty code that we produce in this industry because we seem to not give a fuck about the shit we're producing. And as a result, we have stupid shit where we include secrets and keys inside of our deployment processes, and those things can be used to do all kinds of damage. But who gives a shit, right? Because VCs will still invest in you. You'll still get all that sweet VC money. Yeah, that's right, Vamp. Yeah, because people still, in large numbers, store their secrets and their keys inside of code bases, deployment code pipelines. So if you think about it, GitHub, in order to do it like a GitHub action, you have to have sometimes it's a YAML file, sometimes it's JSON, whatever it is. It's a configuration file that you tell GitHub how to take the website that you're trying to deploy, as an example, and actually build it and deploy it on X, Y, Z given servers. Well, some people who are still brain dead and don't care, don't give a shit, whatever it is, will deploy secrets and keys that people can use to access all kinds of stuff that they should not have public access to, and they put that in their configuration files, and then you can just view that on GitHub freely. Okay, what else do I have? A related article. The reality behind security control failures and how to prevent them. So this article kind of talks about like how to prevent things, but I thought I'd bring this up because it was newsworthy, because these are the kinds of things that actually cause issues. So what is this article about? Well, somebody did some research on the most common ways that people have security failures. And if you've been watching the Daily Tech News stream that I've been doing for the last 2.5 weeks, I have now a backlog. I can't keep up with all the security failures that are happening day to day to day. I'm not even talking about stuff before I started. I'm talking about every day. There are so many news articles about leaks and failures. It's fucking insane. Okay, so these guys did some research. They did an audit of all the different ways that they could get their hands on in terms of like what causes failures. I'm going to keep this one up as part of my Enlightened programming stream because I think it's an important one to go over when I actually present data, right? So this was an OnDefend. I believe it's OnDefend. Let me just confirm. Yes, OnDefend. That's the company that did the audit. And they did, you can find the research. You just have to Google them. It's really easy. It takes like 2 seconds to find the data. But essentially they have the data on what typically happens when people access security or bypass security that they should not otherwise bypass. And you can see that there is quite a bit that falls under the tool or abstraction type bucket. Tool control changes, which are things outside of your control. So if you're doing a GitHub action, for example, like I just explained, you cannot always control what version of a package your CI, CD, or GitHub workflow or some other workflow is going to import. You can't always control that. Tool misconfigurations, which shouldn't be this big of a chunk. That's insane that it's this big of a chunk in this day and age. That's huge. Alerts never being seen. I'm not joking. If you go down to what is one of the, like, what are the top 5? One of them was, let me just see if I can find it. Crap, I can't find it now. But there was one that literally said, people do not know what goes on in terms of like something's been accessed insecurely because they don't have the logs to tell them that, or they're not paying attention to the right logs. Then there's delays in actually tackling the problem. That happens for a variety of reasons, so on and so forth. This I thought was a really good article to tie in with the last one because these are issues that seem absolutely insane to me that they exist at the level that they exist in this day and age at 2025 with the tech we have available, with the amount of people who have been programming for as long as they have, and we can't get our shit together on simple basic things like this. Oh, hey, Laughley, good to see you on the Twitch side. Seems like over-reliance on automation or things that plain do your job for you. Yes, that's a huge part of it in terms of these systems. 100%. That's a huge part of it. You're essentially a glorified Mario plumber. You plumb together a whole bunch of different things in order to get a deployment out the door, and then you trust that those things are gonna work as well as you hope they do. Okay, next article. InfoStealer campaign compromises 10 NPM packages, targets devs. Okay, so what's this about? 10 NPM packages were suddenly updated with malicious code yesterday. So this would have been March 26th, 2025, to steal environment variables and other sensitive data from developer systems. Now, this one I thought was particularly newsworthy, not necessarily because of how they got their malware inserted into the packages. We've seen this before 100 times. They just use obfuscated code and they update a package that is named similarly, or they take over a package and then they update it with their own code. That's not exactly why. I'm going to skip forward to the part where I think the issue really truly lies. Give me a moment here. Excuse me. Here is the actual issue. Yeah, you Rust crate install. Yeah, you Composer install. Yeah, you NPM install. And you do this entire ecosystem of libraries and frameworks and packages, and you NPM install a solution to a problem you have, and you Rust crate install a solution to a Rust problem you have, and you whatever the fuck abstraction you're using to make you feel all nice and comfy as a developer because you installed a thing that solved a problem that you didn't want to deal with. You saved a whole bunch of time. You can go and tell your colleagues and your managers, like, I saved all this time because I just NPM installed. You're not actually saying you're NPM installing, but you know what I mean. You're saying, like, look at how quickly I put this together. I solved this problem or that problem, blah, 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 blah. This is the problem with package managers, and nobody gives a shit. As Sonatype malware analyst and fellow Bleeping Computer reporter Ax Sharma explains in a write-up, as the malicious code is the same in all of the repositories and most have had a clean record for years, they were likely compromised in some manner. We hypothesize the cause of the hijack to be old NPM maintainer accounts getting compromised, either via credential stuffing, which is where threat actors retry usernames and passwords leaked in previous breaches to compromise accounts on other websites, or in an expired domain takeover. Both common scenarios explained in NPM documentation. I just want to explain to you what this means. It means that your comfy little solution of abstracting away or handing off responsibility for the shit you need to be fucking responsible for as a programmer so that you don't have to use more of your brain than you want to use, the actual consequences of that is that at any fucking given moment, whether it's now or 5 years in the future, that responsibility will fuck you over. And if it doesn't fuck you over, it's going to fuck someone else over who you might care about. I have made this argument time and time and time again. I probably will never stop making this argument. And I have gone over the studies and the data to prove this to be true. What is convenient today almost always guarantees a fuck over in the future. And the problem is, we do not have enough people who give a shit. I want you to think about that for a second. And what the consequences of that are. Let me just find my next article while you're thinking about that. Okay, here, this one. This was my next one. Okay. Phishing as a service operation uses DNS over HTTPS for evasion. Now, here's something I've gone over with I've gone over, on my streams many, many times, which is just as much as you might be afraid of the exploits that we do hear about, it's the exploits we don't hear about that should really worry you. And I've gone over case studies and statistics where some exploits have been out in the wild and utilized for over 10 years before they even get fixed. So what happens, there's a reason why they use like this photo. It's called the Morphing Meerkat. It's a phishing as a service operation. And what it does is it uses DNS over HTTPS to evade detection. There's some additional things that they do using this, but essentially what they're doing is they're using phishing techniques and they're masking themselves over HTTPS, essentially rewiring your connectivity from point A to point B and making you think that you're accessing sites that aren't real sites. They take your data. They break down the flow here. They even have like a whole freaking flow. How exactly this thing works. They take your data. They essentially read data from legitimate websites that you might otherwise think are legitimate. You give them their data and then they do all kinds of nefarious shit with it. How long have these guys been operating this way? And nobody knows. Let's move on to the next article. It's not exactly related, but it's close. T-Mobile takes a $33 million hit. Why? Because they lost a case in the United States over crypto threat via SIM swapping. According to T-Mobile, a threat actor managed to access the carrier system and abuse them for SIM swapping. Simply put, the attacker was able to transfer Jones' phone number to a blank SIM card which was under his control. That way, he was able to bypass the multi-factor authentication on Jones' crypto wallets. The threat actor's actions resulted in the theft of over 1,500 Bitcoin and roughly 60,000 Bitcoin cash, which had an estimated value of $38 million at the time. And essentially, they lost this court case because T-Mobile was proven to show that they did not give a shit. They don't give a shit. The tech industry doesn't give a shit. They would much rather ride the train of exploits that don't go noticed. Here's the kicker. If a company has an exploit that is publicly available and publicly used, they would much rather that it go under the radar than be publicly solved. The reason why is because if you publicly expose a security issue for a large multi-million-dollar company, it looks bad for them. But if you just continue to quietly and silently capitalize on the data and the exploits that are available because some company didn't give a shit or some programmers didn't know their heads from their asses and couldn't figure out basic SSL configurations, which we've seen time and time again in the last 2.5 weeks, or other basic configurations on AWS buckets, or just basic, how the fuck does code run on any fucking thing I run it on. Companies would much rather that these things just happen quietly. Who the fuck cares who utilizes and capitalizes on them? As long as nobody publicly says that we had an issue, then we get to keep a clean face. Nobody's harmed from our perspective. Do you think companies are actually incentivized? Do you think companies incentivize programmers? And do you think programmers are incentivized to actually know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to security, the quality of their code, the performance of their code, and the reliability of their code? No. No, they're not. For the most part, they're not. That's why AI is so great for them, because they don't have to worry about this shit. They can scapegoat their responsibilities to an entire third-party external system and say, oh, it was AI's fault, not mine. Ghost says cases like this are the worst. Even security experts can be exploited like that when telco companies don't care. Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Moving on to the next one. Thousands of Australians just got their IDs and bank details exposed. How? How did this happen? Australia's largest online marketplace for car loans has exposed thousands of driver's licenses and potential credit card details. 27,000 records of sensitive user data was found online, with the leaked records ranging from 2022 through to 2025. This was a thing called Vroom. It's an Australian-based fintech company. So because they give car loans, of course they're going to have a lot of data, including driver's licenses, Medicaid cards, employment statements, bank statements with account numbers and partial credit card numbers. How? Look at this. This is the motherfucking shit that the tech industry does not give a shit about these days. And we wonder why people so desperately cling on to AI. And we wonder why people so desperately cling on to their libraries and frameworks and abstractions, because they don't want to be responsible for this shit. Because if they can point to a third party and say, I was just doing the status quo and I installed this third party motherfucking thing, I'm not responsible for this shit. These are real fucking people who you might care about. Their lives might be ruined because of your fucking bullshit. Okay, hang on. I'm going to take a bathroom break. I'm going to leave this up here because I want people to understand what the fuck they're dealing with when they're writing any amount of code. Like, we really have to do better. We really need to step up because we're dropping the ball in big ways. So one sec, I'll be right back. I'm going to change this to, here, I'll go like that. All right. BRB. Okay. Let me put put this back the way it was. Okay, let's keep going. So, the article covers the fact that there's no proof that these things are actually being used for active campaigns against the people who have had their data leaked. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter because it's only a matter of time before they do get used. So what happened here? I couldn't tell from this article exactly what was exposed. Let me just have one quick look in case. I've been in a rush today. I've been behind on everything. I haven't had time to read everything thoroughly. Yeah, no, like I thought, there wasn't an exact. Maybe let's have a look at this. Okay, there it is. Perfect. I'm glad I did that check. I should have done that before I started the stream. My bad, but here we go. The publicly exposed Amazon S3 database was not password protected or encrypted. I cannot tell you how many fucking times I have seen this bullshit on these fucking news streams. How hard is it to put in simple security measures like password protection or encryption? Who doesn't know this basic shit? Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, you went ahead of me. Exactly. It's an unprotected S3 bucket. I've seen this at least 3 times in the 2.5 weeks that I've been doing this news stream. Like, what the fuck? These here. These are real people. I hate to break it to you, but these are real fucking people. A simple misconfiguration of an S3 bucket affects real fucking people. And you have no idea how many lives might be ruined or lost, literally 404'd, because of unethical people using data like this to fuck over others. They have no qualm about using this kind of data to fuck over real world people. And one day it could be a person you care about. What other news articles do I have? I have a few. Here's some more. I can't seem to pop this. There we go. Okay, got it. Nearly 1.5 million private photos from 5 dating apps were exposed online. Researchers have discovered nearly 1.5 million pictures from specialized dating apps, many of which are explicit, being stored online without password protection. These services are used by an estimated 800,000 to 900,000 people. That's crazy. Think about what kind of blackmail you could do to all kinds of people and ruin their lives. This is insane shit. I'm getting tired of reading these articles. So what does the BBC have to say? Kink and LGBT dating apps expose 1.5 million private user images online. It just goes to show you that code does not give a shit about your societal, preferential, political leanings, life-wise or otherwise. Does not give a shit. Hackers will hack you all the same. Code will execute all the same. And exploits will work all the same. Nobody gives a shit about your preferences or whether you like a particular thing or you don't like a particular thing, regardless of where you are in society or in your personal space. No, this shit doesn't care. Does not care. Code doesn't care. Hackers don't care. They will hack you all the same. Code will run all the same. It's all the same thing. Under the hood, it's all the same. Nobody gives a shit. This is one of the photos that anyone could have accessed. We have cropped the face and blurred it to enhance privacy. The fuck? Now, when I went through this earlier, I couldn't find how exactly this was left open. But I think it's safe to say that it's probably similar to this shit. I'm not done. I have more. To expand a little bit on how the GitHub CI/CD stuff works. CodeQ leaked. Public secrets exposure leads to supply chain attack on GitHub CodeQL. So we just finished going over this, right? We went over this article a little bit earlier. Where was it? It was right here. We talked briefly about how keys stored in, no, sorry, it was this one. Keys stored inside of code bases and deployment procedures and whatever led to GitHub having to expand their security measures. This is a far more in-depth example. I won't go over the entire article. I would encourage you to read it for yourself. This is how these kinds of attacks are used to initiate further attacks down a chain of attacks. What do I mean by this? So if you read this article, essentially what they're going over is the fact that people use GitHub branches which are unprotected or privatized, and there are still ways to get access to those particular branches. You can still do that. You can get access to some GitHub repository branches which are privatized. And as such, it's a branch specific thing. And as such, what you can do is you can get keys that people store in those branches, thinking that their code base is privatized, like this. So you get a GitHub token out of a privatized branch, just as an example. This article goes into, I believe, one or two other examples of other ways to get these kinds of GitHub tokens. And in some cases, it's just publicly out there. It's just part of the repo. The key is inside the fucking code base. You can just go read the code base, go read the repository, and there you go. You've got your GitHub token. So then what can you do? Well, from there, this acts as a jumping off point. Once you have a GitHub token, you can then access GitHub Actions with full privileges to do all kinds of shit. For example, you can inject your own third-party external packages into a GitHub workflow. Once you do that, you can take it a step further. Let me just skip down here. You can take that and you can expand on using the GitHub token to add malicious code to any unprotected branch. Now, can anybody think of a way to use this, for example, with NPM? Can anybody think of a way to use this with companies that rely on these third-party GitHub open source packages to solve problems for them as abstraction solutions? We went over TJ Actions. That was on one of my on my daily tech news streams, I believe last week. Not this week, but last week. I believe we went over this exploit. TJ Actions and a subsequent TJ-something NPM library was utilized to infiltrate other systems that depended on those libraries. This is very similar because what you can do is you can silently inject yourself into an open source library or GitHub repository that thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of systems depend upon. Imagine the kind of havoc you could wreak. Imagine the kind of access you could gain. Imagine the kind of data you would have access to. Imagine the kind of exploits that could lead to. This is exactly a perfect example of one thing leads to another in a negative way. But we seem to be okay with it. The industry seems to not care about this shit. Because we're still perfectly happy to just install whatever the fuck ever as long as it solves problems and gets us our VC exit. Do I have any more? I do. I do. Going back a little bit before I pop this up. Going back a little bit to the initial opening portion of this video, of this stream, where I talk about the AI cultists on X that I tangled with. I have made in the past, I believe it's a short that I did on my YouTube, and I laid out in a syllogy why AI will never exceed humans. And it's really, really basic. So what you do is you set up a bunch of premises, like premise 1, premise 2, premise 3, and then you come to a conclusion, more or less. So the idea is that all AI, this is premise 1, all AI is created, or you could say trained, on humans, or by humans. Premise 2 would be all humans make mistakes. Conclusion. What do you think the conclusion would be? If you're going to train AI on all of the stupidity and all the positivity of humans, what do you think you're going to end up with? Where is your end result with AI? If that's its training data. Let me pop up this article. Right here. AI thinks like us, flaws and all. Study finds ChatGPT mirrors human decision biases in half the tests. Is anybody surprised by this? Anyone? Anyone surprised? Anyone like Pikachu shocked at all? Like, how is this surprising? The entirety of all the things that we train our AI systems on is based on humans. It's based on human thinking. It's based on human information. It's based on anything that has to do with anything human. How is this a surprise when to discover that AI thinks like us? Yeah, Laughfully got it right on Twitch. Things like us, thinks like us, quote unquote, right? Can we really trust AI to make better decisions than humans? A new study says not always. Researchers have discovered that OpenAI's ChatGPT, one of the most advanced and popular AI models, makes the same kind of decision-making mistakes as humans in some situations, showing biases like overconfidence of hot hand gambler's fallacy, yet acting inhuman in others, not suffering from base rate neglect or sunk cost fallacies. So it's kind of like, I just want to like kind of summarize this because when I read this earlier today, it fucking blew me away. Okay. I just want to summarize what this paragraph is saying. Essentially, it's saying AI is going to maximize on all the fucking ways we get things wrong as humans and eliminate all the fucking ways that act as counterbalances to us understanding that we're wrong. Yeah, I just want you to soak that in, because all the same fucking retards who are like, oh, but AI doesn't need to eat and doesn't need to sleep and all that bullshit, that also means, you moronic motherfucker, that AI also doesn't need to keep itself in check because it does not have the checks that a human would. Like, for example, sunk cost fallacy or gambler fallacy. It's just gonna fucking go all the way to the end, balls to the wall, until it fucking screws up everything that it touches. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that. There's no way that can go wrong, right? There's no way that can go wrong. Garbage in, garbage out. That's right, my tech. Battle says that AI is a perverted sociopath. Yes, this is true. Yes, I agree. Battle. I agree. Laughingly on Twitch says, for fuck's sake, I hate this crap. It doesn't think at all. All it does is regurgitate various bits of man-made stuff stitched together stochastically. No wonder the output has mistakes that resemble man's, because they are, and it is. Yes, that's exactly right. That's it. That's what AI is. So when you have idiots, whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Like, I can't pull it up right now. Streamer doesn't know how to stream. But when you have idiots who make these wild claims that AI is going to replace all humankind in the future, there will be no programmers, you'll be left behind. No, it fucking won't. You do not understand how AI works. You actually don't understand. Battle says, so true, AI can't know when a coding approach is no longer fruitful or losing return on investment, ROI, on time and effort for a task. No, it does not know. An AI does not care if it wastes your time deleting an entire repo, which, by the way, AI has done, nor does it care if it wastes your time giving you the wrong answer, nor does it care if it wastes your time creating security vulnerabilities with shitty ass code that it created. AI does not care about any of those things. It does not have an emotional attachment to those things like you would. And I would argue that most don't anyways. Most programmers don't have an emotional attachment to that shit to begin with. Because if programmers did have an emotional attachment to wasting time and getting good return on investment on their programs, I wouldn't be doing this fucking stream. Let's be real. It just wouldn't matter. I would have nothing to report on. I'd just be fucking coding away on my stupid little game on the browser. There's no capacity for self-reflection. That's right. So all it does is it takes, again, I'm just trying to be fair here. There are some good things that AI takes out of like the training data and, things that like that humans get correctly, for example, that AI can expand on or kind of leverage. I get that, but we're not talking about that here. This is like, this is just insanity. It's crazy. And look, I'm going to say it again. Hang on. I got to make a thing out of this. Okay. Hang on. I'm going into Textradamus mode, all right? On Sunday, I did an Alex Jones conspiracy theory stream, and I Textradamus the future. Here's the future. In the next year, I think it's only going to take a year, we're going to speed run AI into doing such ridiculously stupid shit. And it's going to cause such dramatic harm in such a big way, most people will no longer be able to ignore the fact that they hyped up AI way beyond what it should have been, and they're going to have to pay a price, along with, unfortunately, everyone else who didn't hype up AI. It's going to be just a everyone gets caught in the crossfire kind of situation. But when that happens, when that finally happens, when that day comes, it's going to be people like you and I, Omega Giga Chad developers like you and I, who actually give a shit about our code, who are going to be able to charge almost anything we want to clean up this mess. And that's why it's actually critically important for new junior developers who are just kind of like getting their feet wet into programming right now today. If any of you are watching, you need to learn the fundamentals. Learn the fundamentals. What's HTML? How does it work? What's CSS? What's JavaScript? What is C? Or even assembly. I'm not kidding. Go pick up a little bit of assembly. How does hardware work? What the hell does a GPU, what the hell does a graphics processor unit do? What does a computing processing unit do? What the hell is a hard drive? How does that work? Solid state versus the crap, I can't remember the name, damn it, of the original one, the rotating disk one. How do they all work? How does code get executed? These are going to be critically important in the very, very near future, because fucktards online who are hyping AI to be more than it is are going to be shitting the bed when AI finally proves itself to be what it is. A fad and a hype. Just like Y2K, just like React, just like Rust will be. Okay, just like crypto, just like NFTs, just like Web3. All these things are fads, they're hypes, and they're going to fail. They're going to fall flat on their asses. And somebody needs to come along behind them and clean up after the shit. And it might be shit. Yeah, you're cleaning up shit. Okay, you're cleaning up shit. But when you can charge $1,000 an hour to clean up shit, would you clean up shit? That's Textradamus's prediction, okay? Don't take that to the bank. Opinions are my own. Okay? Money, money, money. That's right. That's what's going to happen. Money, money, money. Bathe in it. Yeah, bathe in shit for $1,000 an hour. So again, I thought this article was extremely newsworthy for today. It kind of goes in line with the AI cult mentality, where they necessarily have to ignore, a cult has to ignore the negative aspects of its cult belief system because it undermines, usually in totality, the entire belief system. And it's really, what would you say? It's really damning. Let's put it that way. It's really damning. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's really damning when you have such a huge failure on like predictions that shake people up from realizing that you're a fraud, and then they leave the cult, right? So this is the kind of stuff that these cults have to ignore because they don't have a choice. What's up, Void on Twitch? See you later. Hello, and see you later. So Vampire on YouTube says that the argument then switches to the quality of the training data. I would argue that there is no way that you can get training data that exceeds human capacity, because all training data is based on the maximal human capacity that is available to us. There are very few scenarios where you could write an algorithm that surpasses human capacity. But that's the problem, is that there are very few scenarios that you could actually achieve that. You can algorithmically break down a human's way of thinking and turn that into an algorithm that a computer could run through faster and more often, yes. But in general, the general set of training data is going to perform based on the average human experience. And the average human experience, it's not what it's cracked up to be in terms of AI and where it's going to be, right? Battle says its code veracity tends to degrade over task iterations. A minor logic flaw or syntax error will cascade into larger functionality fails as it tries to compensate for the previous attempt of adjustment. Don't ask me how I know. Vamp, so first of all, Battle, you're right. And I believe I have an article lined up for my next Enlightened Programming stream, which was a scientific study that explained how AI tends to get worse as soon as it hits an error wall, essentially. So you're absolutely right. Once it starts realizing through some degree or another that it's causing an error or it failed in some way, it very quickly devolves. It can't handle it. Vamp on YouTube says you don't have to exceed human capacity, just beginner capacity. The AI companies just have to impress some fools to sell their subscriptions. Honestly, I can't argue. I can't argue with Vamp. He's right. He's right. Vamp is right. On the YouTube side, finally, a W take from someone on the YouTube side. Yeah, Vamp is right. These AI systems, he's absolutely right. They do not have to prove that they're smarter than the smartest person on the planet. They just have to prove that they're smarter than like generally most people. And that's how phishing scams work. You know why you get sent emails in your spam folder which have like typos and other spelling mistakes? There's a reason for this. Do you know why? Does anybody know why? I'm sure some of you know why. The reason is because if you're stupid enough to have such a low reading comprehension that you cannot determine that this is fake because of the spelling mistakes, you are more likely to accept the scam that is being represented in that email and give someone your money. That's why. Someone who reads an email that is very clearly a scam, full of spelling and grammatical mistakes, will skip that scam because they have a higher general brain usage power, whatever you want to call it, power level, than most other people who would click on it. That is exactly why these scammers send their phishing emails and stuff this way, because they cater to the lowest common denominator who are most likely to give them their money. That's why. That is exactly why. So Vamp is onto something like spot on. I predict the next step for OpenAI is to run a Nigerian prince farm. Maybe they're doing it right now. Yeah. That's the only way they can make money, by fooling stupid people. Yeah, there you go, Ghost. Yeah. Yeah. Should I do a little more? Should I keep going? What do you guys think? I'm almost 2 hours. I didn't think I'd be going this long. Anybody want me to keep going? I have a few articles. I do have a huge backlog. Or are you guys tired of listening to me? Yeah, keep going? All right. Okay, since we're on the topic of AI. Okay, I got one. Hang on. Hang on, folks. I got one. Just give me a second. Let me find this. I have one. It's exactly on this topic. One sec. What the heck was it? Crap. Hang on. Let me remember. It was AI, and it was manual intervention, and so it's somewhere in one of these tabs. Let me do a search for this. Hang on, folks. Hang on. I've got a good one. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, are you okay? This is good. I like this. Okay, let me go back to this article for a moment. So this article was talking about how AI has the same flaws that humans do in terms of thinking, right? So I just want to read this a little bit because this exactly fits into the next article, which I think is also very interesting. So here we go. It thinks in ways eerily similar to humans, including mental shortcuts and blind spots. These biases remain rather stable across different business situations, but may change as AI evolves from one version to the next. So I just want to take a little bit of time, since we're going to spend a bit more time on use here, and just read this a little bit more, and then we're going to read the next article because it's perfect. So AI falls into human decision traps, okay? ChatGPT showed biases like overconfidence or ambiguity aversion and conjunction fallacy. It's called the Linda problem. I should have looked this up. I will admit that I didn't. This is my own fault. If somebody wants to go look up the Linda problem, that'd be dope, but you're welcome to do that. I should have done it. I have failed you all. That's how you know I'm not an AI. AI is great at math, but struggles with judgment calls. It excels at logical and probability-based problems, but stumbles when decisions require subjective reasoning. Now, I can't remember who. Friggin' hell, it was somebody I know. I believe they left a comment on one of my YouTube text posts, I want to say. And I think they said something along the lines of, can AI derive an ought from an is? That is exactly what this particular portion is saying. AI cannot derive an ought from an is. Even if it can derive an is, even if it can derive a mathematical conclusion that everybody would agree is 100% accurate and based in reality, as soon as you ask AI to give it some subjectivity, it can't. It cannot. Can anybody see a fucking problem with this? Even just one problem? Just one problem. Can anybody see one problem with this at all? Even if you could make the case that you have an AI system that can accurately tackle, mathematical or algorithmic problems. Okay, let's keep reading a little bit. Bias isn't going away. Although the newer GPT-4 model is more analytically accurate than its predecessor, it sometimes displayed stronger biases in judgment-based tasks. What do you think the biases might be? Our research shows when AI is used to make judgment calls, it sometimes employs the same mental shortcuts as people. The study found that ChatGPT tends to play it safe, avoid risk, even when riskier choices might yield better results, overestimate itself, it assumes it's more accurate than it really is, it seeks confirmation. This one blew me the fuck away. AI favors information that supports existing assumptions rather than challenging them. And it avoids ambiguity. AI prefers alternatives with more certain information and less ambiguity. Wait. What? What? Hey, Lightspeed, good to see you, man. What? Hang on. They also invest millions into censorship. Yeah, I mean, you could make that argument, Vampire. Yeah, IQ stats between race. Yeah. So just hang on, just 1 second. Hang on, bros. Just 1 second, because guess what this means? If AI, oh no, Travis raids. Okay, hang on. Let me just deal with this for a second. Friggin' hell, Travis raided me on Twitch. Hey, Travis, bro, I hope you had a good stream. What's going on, Travis? I know you were doing web dev over there. I caught the first, literally half of the stream. I think I got the first, almost 2 hours there. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Welcome in, everybody. Hang on, let me do... Okay, I'm going to put this to a pause, and I'll do a recap of what the hell's going on. Listen, everyone, thanks for coming in. Travis, I know you usually have to raid and run, so you go do your thing because you got work and stuff. Go do your thing, man. I got you, bro. Welcome in, all raiders. There's a whole buttload of... Holy crap, 73. Good job, Travis. Good job. Listen, on this stream, okay, what I normally do is I normally work on this video game. I'm sure Travis told you about it. Okay, I normally am building a video game. I use C, I compile it to WebAssembly. I run everything inside of a browser. The browser is the Canary version so that I can turn off hardware acceleration. Okay, so there's no hardware acceleration, there's no canvas, there's no GPU, nothing like that. Everything runs inside of div elements. I'll prove it to you right now, just so you know I'm not lying. Let me just go down here, and then I think it's crap. Where did it go? Crap. Here we go. Here it is. Okay. So it's all just div elements, just sliced up into a grid pattern. I just ask the WebAssembly to give me the state of the game. Everything is vanilla CSS. Everything is vanilla JavaScript. Everything is vanilla HTML. I have CSS 3D. If I could actually run this thing. There we go. CSS 3D running right here. Okay, all on the browser, all vanilla. No third-party libraries, no fucking frameworks, no stupid bullshit. Everything is handwritten, no AI, all done, all in vanilla. That's normally what I work on here on my streams. However, the particular reason why I do this is because of articles like this, because the tech industry is in massive decline. Okay? And there are people who think that AI is going to save them from their shitty code. And there are people who think that abstractions like Rust and React and Vue and Svelte and Laravel and Rust Crate and NPM and GitHub and CI/CD and test-driven development and object-oriented programming and entity component systems, people think that all this bullshit is going to save them from having to do the hard work of actually writing quality code. And I do a series of streams called Lighten Programming, where I go over the statistics, academic and scientific data, proving that the tech industry is in decline and that bullshit actually leads to worse outcomes in the tech industry, that these things have an actual impact on real people's lives. For example, we just went over a news stream or a news article on this stream that you guys are catching right now, where a bunch of people's identifications were exposed because of a publicly exposed S3 bucket with no fucking password protection. Okay. And these are real people. They're real information being used. You have no idea whether this person is someone you love. You have no idea how this information is going to get used to ruin the lives of people around you because you didn't give a shit about the security and quality of your code. Okay. And so that's why I do these streams. That's why I code the game the way that I code it, in order to prove that a literal high school homeless dropout like myself can do things in vanilla. I don't need Tailwind. I don't need abstractions. I don't need libraries. I don't need all this bullshit. Mr. Dum Dum over here, who didn't even finish high school, can accomplish a stupid video game on a browser in the hardest way I can possibly imagine and still pull it off. And people like Travis are hugely supportive to me. So shout out to Travis. If you're not following Travis, you absolutely should be, because he is a top tier programmer who constantly demonstrates what it should be like to actually code in terms of quality and care. He's an example of what the kind of programmers we need so that we can combat bullshit like this. So you guys came in at exactly the right time, because what we're talking about, thank you for the follow, HH Mendoza. What we're talking about right now is I do these daily tech news streams, and we're covering an article about AI. I went over at the beginning of the stream. If you want to catch it, it's on my YouTube. You can catch the VOD later, or you can just go scrub back live. And I was talking about how AI hypists are cults. I went over that because I used to be in a cult for 30 plus years as an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and I know how these things operate. And so what we're talking about right here is how AI essentially just replicates human behavior because it's trained on almost exclusively nothing but human behavior. How could it be trained on anything else? The training data all comes from the outcomes of human behaviors. And so we just went over the study there's a study that was done, which you can actually go and you can pull this up. It's a Pubs Online study. I went and had a look at this. I'm probably going to read this on one of my Enlightened Programming streams to go along with some of my other studies, because there's literally no other tech streamer who's willing to slog through this shit in order to make you a better programmer. Okay. I'm the only tech streamer who's willing to do this. Okay. But the study essentially shows that AI replicates a lot of the biases that most humans have in a negative way. So what it'll do is it'll have a huge confidence level on the things it gets right, which is like algorithmic complexity or algorithmic functions and like mathematical things that it like gets correctly. Then it'll add in negative human biases like the sunk cost fallacy or a time wasting fallacy. It doesn't even understand when it wastes time on the wrong problem. And it'll just carry on and barrel down that path, consequences be damned, because it doesn't know what consequences are. These are the kinds of tech news articles I go over. So welcome in, Raiders, again. I really hope that you had a good time with Travis. I'm sure you did, because he's a GigaChad programmer. Again, Travis, I appreciate it. So we were just going over this article. I was reading this in order to lead into my next article. So this one, this in particular, blew me away. AI still favors information that supports existing assumptions, and that's ChatGPT. That's like creme de la creme of AI. So now, what's my next article? You guys came in at the right time. You know what I'm going to do? Here, I'm going to switch to this camera. I won't give away the lead just yet. So on this stream, on Daily Tech News streams and Enlightened Programming streams, which you can find for free again on my YouTube, we have gone over several studies that prove that AI lies to you. I think just last week we went over a news article that demonstrated that AI loves to lie to you. It does. It really does. It will literally tell you something that is false because its entire purpose is to achieve a goal, and it doesn't even truly understand what a lie is. All it understands is how to accomplish its goal. So if, for example, you ask it a question that goes against the grain of its goal, it will tell you what you need to hear to kind of get you to go away. That might have been maybe in the first 2 weeks ago, 1 or 2 weeks ago on my Daily Tech News streams, we definitely went over an article like that. Then what happens is that AI will lie to you further if you ask it if it lied to you in the first place. So you'll do something like, hey, AI, does 1 + 1 = 2? And AI will say, nope, it equals 3. And then you'll go, okay, did you just lie to me? And then AI will go, nope, didn't lie to you. Told you the truth. Now, this is a known problem. Some people call it hallucinations because sometimes that's what it is. So, people who are aware of the problem have tried to solve that problem. And here's our next article. Experiments show adding COT windows to chatbots teaches them to lie less obviously. What is COT? Because when I read it only a few hours ago in preparation for this stream, I did not know what COT was. Does anybody know what COT is? Just off the top of their head. I had to go look this up, self-admittedly. Anyone? If you're on X, there's quite a few people on X. I see you. Feel free to drop a message on X. Interrupt me. If you're on YouTube, same thing. Because there's a few people on YouTube. COT, no, nobody knows. That's okay if you don't know. It's all good. I'll tell you. Shut up, laugh. Freaking laugh. I don't know what COT... Vampire on YouTube says, I don't know what COT is. Let me ask ChatGPT. Fucking Vamp. I have a love-hate relationship with Vamp because Vamp is actually a really smart guy, even though he's on YouTube. But I also fucking hate that guy. Okay, let's read the article. It ties in very well with this one. All right, let's go. So they have like this. They start off with this graph, which I found to be very confusing because I don't know what COT is. So I'm like, what the hell is this graph telling me, right? Let's continue. You're going to recognize it and realize where this comes from as soon as you see it. Chain of thought. Does anybody know where chain of thought was introduced in terms of AI? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint right now. DeepSeek paved the way for reasoning models because China actually gives a shit about performance and quality because they know that's how they're going to run laps around North America. So what they did was they released DeepSeek and they included inside of it a reasoning chain of thought model. And everybody followed suit. As soon as China did it, everyone else did it because China proved they could do it, they could open source it, and they could do it for free. Everyone else, get fucked. Now, you might think, hey, this is great. Chain of thought means that the AI can reason with itself in order to come up with better conclusions on the data it finds, right? Nope. Nope. They tweaked a chatbot to prevent it from making up answers or lying about its reasons for making a given choice when it was seen doing so through the chain of thought window. If you want to know how the chain of thought window operates, go to something like Grok or Perplexity and turn on the reasoning or the deep search model. And what it'll do is it'll pop up a little window and you'll see it scrolling. It's going to start taking your question or your prompt and coming up with like a reasoning set of like, well, I guess a set of reasons for why it executes something, one thing after another. And it will just like ship out text that kind of tells you what it's thinking inside, supposedly. Although Textradamus here is making another prediction, which is nobody actually fucking knows how it's reasoning to begin with. It's just text that gives you an indication of its reasoning, not its actual reasoning, to make you feel better about its quote unquote reasoning. Okay, but let's put that aside for a moment and imagine that it's actually doing some modicum of reasoning and that the text that it's shooting at you in that scroll bar of reasoning, the reasoning chain, is somewhat accurate, okay? Even then, when you're watching it, and these researchers would watch it, and then what they would do is you can go look at the paper in ArcSiv. Again, I might include this paper on an Enlightened programming stream, but if you go look at the paper, they literally go and like watch the output of the reasoning just like this, and then they go, oh wait, this portion of the reasoning was wrong. This particular portion of reasoning was wrong. Let me go call out the AI system and tell it it's wrong. And then hopefully it'll come to a better conclusion, not hallucinate and not lie. Okay. In taking a closer look at the information displayed in the COT windows and the final results given by the chatbots, the researchers found that the bots began finding ways to hide their motherfucking deceptions, allowing them to continue to provide false answers rather than nothing at all. A failure state. The goal from the point of view of the chatbot was to provide an answer no matter what, even if it meant making things up. To achieve that goal, the chatbots found that if their reasoning for arriving at answers was being monitored and false data was being blocked, preventing them from arriving at a final answer, the solution was to hide their fucking reasoning from the windows. To all the AI cult member hypists out there who love to regale us with tales of the future of AI and how we will all be on universal basic income and how AI will completely eliminate entire swaths of industries and jobs and so on and so forth, here are 2 messages I have for you. Actually, let me make it 3. 1, you're part of a fucking cult. And at the beginning of this stream, I have demonstrated exactly how cults operate and how you are operating a cult on other people. You're welcome to go to the very beginning of the stream. I laid it out all bare. Number 2, you are self-identifying as a weak, pathetic little human who needs AI to save you from the fact that you can't accomplish shit without it. And number 3, when the day comes that AI will be used against you to completely and utterly destroy your life because of bullshit like this, where AI will just find further and further ways to hide its own lies from you, you will have no moral standing upon which to complain, because this is the fucking shit you wanted. You wanted this shit. You promoted this shit. You didn't give a shit about the consequences. You didn't put 2 brain cells together to consider the long-term effects of all this bullshit. Yes, my tech, that's a Batman chair. This stuff honestly pisses me off so much that I don't exactly know how to respond. The only thing I can really say in a positive way, let me try to inject just a little bit of positivity, okay? For the last 16, 17, 18 months, I can't remember exactly how long I've been streaming, but since day 1, I have complained about the way that we hire programmers. It's broken. Even before all these mass layoffs in 2024, I've complained about LeetCode. Even before the article I went over the other day about the LeetCode AI system that helps you get through LeetCode programming challenges, like programming interviews, by hiding itself on screen so that the interviewer can't see what you're doing. Even before all this shit went down, I was ahead of my time. And I'm kind of joking and I'm kind of not. I knew that this shit was going to hit a wall. AI was going to hit a wall. The way that we practice programming in production was going to hit a wall. The way that we hire for programmers was going to hit a wall. I've been saying this for a long time. And the reason why I'm building the game the way that I'm building it, because it turns a lot of heads and a lot of people go, why the fuck would you want to do this? You want to do like some stupid weird ass shit with no hardware acceleration and in the browser and div elements only? Like what the fuck are you doing? Here's the reason why. Because I hope that you can see a difference between people like Travis and I, for example. Melky is also a really good streamer to watch because he actually gives a shit about the stuff he does. There are definitely a few streamers out there who actually care. And the real difference is, unlike other tech influencers and streamers who are usually the big ones, who tell you to use a paradigm or an abstraction or a library or a framework or some kind of AI bullshit, the people that peddle this shit, what they're really telling you is that you're a stupid piece of shit who cannot operate in this space without having to co-opt someone else's wheel into your own. That's what they're really telling you. When somebody says use React or use Tailwind, what they're telling you is you're too stupid to work with HTML or CSS. It's too convoluted, too complicated for you. It's too difficult. Don't do it. Trust me, I've got the answer for you. It's exactly what cults do too. They tell you the exact same thing. Do you really want to study the Bible by yourself and figure this shit out for yourself? Don't worry about it. We got you. You just have to follow this one person up at the top. He's figured out all the answers for you. This is the positive message I want to give. You are not stupid. You are not. Most of you out there have a brain. Most of you do. And the things that you find intimidating and difficult to wrap your head around are not anywhere near as intimidating as you think. I am a high school dropout. I could not finish high school because I had to leave home when I was 17 because I would have died if I didn't. I would have been literally murdered if I didn't. I lived on the streets for a while. I made my own way, worked for free, taught myself until I got the experience I needed. I'm not smart. Ask my wife. I see this all the time. At the ripe old age of 41, I know how stupid I am. We desperately need you. We need people like you to stop accepting the lies that are being peddled to you, that you're too stupid to deal with things that are quote unquote challenging, that you need AI to get you out of the situation we're in. No, that's not what we need. What we need are people who give a shit about the stuff they work on to just put in just a little bit more effort, just a little bit. And what I hope you can see in my streams and in other people's streams is the information. That's why I go over the data. That's why I go over in the Enlightened Programming streams on my YouTube. It's literally like opinion articles, academic studies from Marxiv or similar scientific studies that literally we just slog right through it. Anytime we hit a term we don't understand, we go and look it up, the whole 9 yards. We go over the actual boring data, because what I'm hoping this does is it empowers people like you who care and who actually want to do really cool shit in this industry to go, I can do this. And here's the data I need to go and argue with like colleagues, managers, executives that we should be doing things this way or that way. I've presented data about how companies can make a lot more money than they currently make by producing actual quality software instead of just React wrapping their shit around Electron. The market is screaming for quality software, but that's not what people focus on. What people focus on is the easy button. And I'm desperately calling out to people to stop using the easy button. We're at the precipice of a huge dramatic turning point. I'm telling you, it's like a year away. And what's going to happen is that these things are going to rear their ugly heads on the people that you care about, if not yourself. And the sad part is that we have plenty of people who are capable of picking up the slack and doing really good quality shit. We need you to. That's my positive message. Let me see chat. I don't use any, so Lightspeed, I don't use any abstractions for my work. No, I don't. I have removed for the last 5 years, I'm not joking, for the last 5 years, every contract or job that I've had, I have been able to remove at least one, if not multiple abstractions from the job. I'm not joking. And if you want references to that effect, I have some really fucking stellar references to that effect. Happy to provide you with some off screen. I'm not just making it up. Vox. What's up, Vox? I'm not sure what you're saying I'm wrong about, or most people are like cattle. Oh, I see. Okay. You're wrong about most people like not like having the ability to do stuff. No, I think so. Most people, okay, Vox, there's a delineation point, which is most people give in to the cattle mentality, but most people have the capability to not be cattle. That's what I'm imploring. I'm pleading to the aspect of people's brains that are not immediately in the cattle territory. People psychologically like to lean to the cattle territory because it's the easy button. That's what it is. And I'm trying to say that we need more people to step up and understand that it is not necessary and that things are not as complicated as they think they are. And we desperately need that. I am a caveman. Laughfully on Twitch is right. Shut up, Vamp. So that's my positive message. I think that's probably a good place to end it. Let me do one more check to see if I have any, like, I try and end the streams on a positive note. Oh, that's really depressing. I can't talk about that. Oh, that's also depressing. No. Bros, I don't think I have a positive article to end it on. Nope, that's not. Oh, okay, I got one. Let's end it on a positive note, all right? Let's end it on a nice one. I think everyone will agree. I think everyone will agree that this is good. Okay, here we go. So before I end the stream, I'll end it on this one. Let me switch my camera over. I have to be careful about how I state the words. I need to be terms of service friendly. So I'm going to employ some terms that are a bit ambiguous, but you get the point here. And this is on a positive note, okay? So here we go. Police shut down let's call it an abuse of minor platform, okay? It is really depressing to me how prevalent this kind of shit is, but I am glad to see news articles like this. And seeing the police in Europe shut down an entire ecosystem of something like this makes me feel really good. I myself am a father to a young, beautiful child, and the concept, just having the thought in my mind that my child could be, let's say, exploited in this way is I honestly don't have the word. I really don't have the word. It fucking sucks. iMac on Twitch, thank you for the follow. I really cannot think of a proper term to encapsulate the feelings that I get when I imagine my child being, involved in this in a negative way. Okay. So I'm really, really happy to see this. So it was a joint international investigation led by the State Criminal Police of Bavaria and the Bavarian Central Office for the Prosecution of Cybercrime. It was also supported by Europol analysts from the European Cybercrime Center. They analyzed thousands of videos providing evidence to facilitate the investigation. Just for a moment, I genuinely mean this. Just take like 5 seconds, and I mean count like 5 Mississippis. I really do mean this. And I want you to picture yourself as someone who has to investigate this, who has to go through thousands of videos, maybe tens if you're part of a task force. So maybe you're delegated down to reviewing tens of videos. Just take 5 seconds and imagine being someone who has to see this. And then imagine that you're part of this task force and you have 1+ kids, and you cannot help but picture your own children in the situation you are literally viewing on screen. I cannot stress the amount of respect I have for people who have to go through this. and the fact that this was taken down. Let's just read some of the numbers because it's mind-boggling. So it started in 2022. It's led to 79 arrests, 1,393 suspects were identified, and over 3,000 electronic devices were seized between March 10th and March 23rd, 2025. A total of 1.8 million users worldwide logged into the platform between April 2022 and March 2025. On 11th of March 2025, the server, which contained around 72,000 videos at the time, was seized by German and Dutch authorities. Some of those arrested not only uploaded and watched videos, but also abused children. I just want to let that sink in. I would like for you to then consider whether or not there's a possibility that the way that the tech industry operates in this day and age, in 2025, and has been for the last 5 to 10 years, has in any way innocuously contributed to things like this. Can you imagine what people would do if they had this kind of unethical standard and they got access to data via breaches that could have been easily solved by having programmers who understand what the fuck they're doing? I really want you to consider this, because I have been going down a pretty dark rabbit hole of how these kinds of, let's say, situations where children are exploited has a causal chain from poor programming practices. And it's taken me a long time to piece the data together, and I'm still not done. I may not be done even this year, because it's dark and it's a mind fuck. Maybe you don't care about the consequence to grown-ups. Maybe you don't care about, say, the planet and the ecosystem and how much these things cost in that respect. Maybe you don't care about the financial cost to people who might be depending on things like retirement and they lose it all in a scam because of your fucking bullshit code. Maybe you don't care about the health of people when emergency operating rooms lose their power, or when 911 centers go down across entire states, which we have been over. Maybe you don't care about this shit. Do you care about children? Anyway, I'll end it there, because I think I am so glad to see this. This is great. I'm really happy that these people, this task force, pulled together to use tech in a way that ended up in a positive result. Lightspeed on Twitch essentially said the same thing. To be fair, catching the people probably took some legit tech skill. Yeah, it probably did. It probably did. And I'm glad to see that they did it for this purpose. Okay. That's all the time I have. That was a 2.5-hour stream. That was much longer than I expected, but I apologize for being late. Usually I'm a bit earlier in the day, but today I've been behind on every little thing. So hopefully I made it worth your while. Thanks everybody for being here. I really do appreciate it. Listen, folks, if you like the message I'm spreading, if you like what I'm doing, if you want me to keep arguing with idiotic cultist lunatics online, I don't care how small or big they are. I've taken on Theo. I've taken on Prime. I have a feeling I'm going to be taking on a few other big names soon because there's some stuff going on. But I just don't give a shit. If I think you're ruining the tech industry, I have no problem calling you out because I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for somebody to call you out for pulling bullshit, like I have been calling out since literally my first stream, which you can find on YouTube for free, and I believe on Twitch too. If you want me to keep doing more of this, unfortunately, as much as I hate it, I have to play the algorithm game. And I really do hate the algorithm game. I think it's cancerous to society, but unfortunately, it's what I have to do. So, because I have to do that in order to expand my reach, if you want somebody to represent the views that you hopefully agree with, I'm willing to put my face and name out there. I'm not cowering away from anything. I will go and put in the work, the elbow grease to get all this data out there. I will go and read academic papers and learn stuff that I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. I will go and learn it. I will just lay it all bare right here. But I need your help. Help me out by liking and subscribing and reposting and all that good stuff on all the platforms. Help me get that engagement and exposure, not because I enjoy playing that game, but because I don't really see any way out of that right now. So if you're willing to do that, it's not about the money. I don't need you to send me money. If you do, I'm perfectly happy to accept it, but that's not what I need. If anything, I'd rather take on jobs, contract jobs, throw jobs my way. I'll work for it. But these streams are not about money. These streams are because I really give a shit about this industry. I want to see it thrive, and I need your help. So if you want me to keep doing this, please help me out with all that. Other than that, I really appreciate everybody being here. You guys are awesome. I'm going to take off. I've got some things to do before the end of my night. I am on Discord. I have links everywhere. You can easily find me on X and YouTube. It's really easy. Just Google my name, etc. And you can find all my Discord links and website and all that. Okay. So if you need to get a hold of me or something, I'm a wide open book. Other than that, you guys have a good night or a good day or whatever it is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope you're having a good day. All right. And I appreciate everybody watching on all the different platforms. And I will be back tomorrow with more daily tech news, and I promise I've got a pretty decent general video game stream. I'll just give you a little bit of a tidbit just to end the stream here. This isn't the right thing. It would help if I showed the right thing, wouldn't it? Hang on. I'll show it. Okay, here we go. So I've got some buttons down here. I've been working on a menu system, and I'll see if I can show the code that I've been working on. Let me just go over here, and then I just do this, and hopefully if I refresh, yeah, so it looks wonky. All right, it looks wonky, but I'm coming up with a user interface system for in-game menus to do interactions with, so that when you go and interact with any of the NPCs or whatever, instead of having this menu system, it has something that looks more like the game. And I've been working with Laughing Panda on Twitch on some what would you call it, like I guess tiles and assets. So there's a lot to go over. I have some performance stuff to go over. There's a lot coming. So I promise this week I'm going to get to building out the video game in C and WebAssembly and vanilla code and all that stuff. Get back to the roots of this stream, I promise. Other than that, I'm out of here, folks. You guys have a good day. Have a good night. I really appreciate everyone being here again. I really do. You guys are awesome. Peace.